we should be on Twitch here. Welcome, everybody. Oh, I've got a commercial here. Apparently, it's not seeing me log in. There we go. Enter a code. So once the code, it must be sending it to my phone. All right, with StreamYard, not StreamYard, but Twitch, there's my Twitch code. Okay, remember, cool. Twitch wanted me to sign in again. All right, cool. We can see,
remember, cool.
Everything. I'm going to turn off my sound. Good, fantastic. Hello, everybody. Hello, Cynthia. Hello, Mac Nonsense. More people are jumping in now. Everybody has a tendency to come in a little bit late. And while we're waiting for everybody to come in the room, what I would like to do is play. I'm going to remove Dwayne's PowerPoint real quick, or his screen. And then I'm going to play our commercial from our sponsor. Yes, we have an official sponsor.
Lucinda Macklin, the head cook, created masterpieces of Southern cooking every day. With her culinary creativity and her knowledge of certain secrets of food preparation, Lucinda made her very own special sauces. She developed a variety of marinades and sauces full of diverse herbs, spices, and a whole lot of love. The thick and tangy barbecue sauce she made was so rich, it was poured into jars rather than bottles. Soon, Lucinda's delicious, authentic sauces became known all across the South. Lucinda Macklin was wise enough to realize that her gift for cooking wasn't truly a gift until it was given. So she passed her many recipes on to her daughter, Osabel, and Osabel imparted her knowledge to her daughter, Thelma. Thelma kept the tradition alive by passing those precious gifts to her son, Lamont Burns. And Lamont is still passing it on and on and on.
I'm Lamont Burns, inviting you to enjoy my great-grandmother Lucinda's recipes in every jar of the Lamont's authentic Southern marinade and barbecue sauce. You spend good money on meats, but you're probably not getting that good down-home flavor. Marinate your meat in Lamont's marinade. It puts the flavor from the skin to the bone, long before you ever cook it. Then add the Lamont's authentic Southern barbecue sauce, and I tell you, you got some good eating.
All right, so let's we'll take the commercial off. Let's remove that one. Okay, good morning, everybody. Let me kind of go over here so you can see our faces here. All right, so let's see. My face is not showing up because my camera is not turned on. There it is. In fact, so you don't see my messy background back here, I'm going to go and put in a little virtual background, my favorite virtual background.
Steve, I just want to point out this is what you get for having Murphy live today.
That's right. Murphy, the man who created Murphy's Law. Well, it's weird. Our virtual background's not working. Okay, no worries. It's going to be that way. I'm going to assume that eventually it's going to work. Okay. All right. So welcome. The Digital Creativity. And this is the Photoshop Users Group, a meeting. We have two of them coming up. Let me go ahead and share some things. We've got two meetings this year, or this month, I should say. We've got Dwayne today, and then in 2 weeks we're going to have Anthony Washington, who's a concept artist. And so this is an example of some of his work that he's going to be that he has been doing for the industry. And I'll share another with you real quick. There's another, and he's a digital painter using Photoshop, and he'll be coming in. Good morning, IB Wizard. I should say I said good morning to Cynthia and Mac Nonsense. We got more here. People are slowly coming into the room. We got about 15 so far coming in, so that's there. Only a few showing up in the chat. Everybody, you're welcome to interact in the chat. I'm going to keep my eye on the chat box. So when you guys want to interact or ask questions, I'll see those questions, and then I'll relay those questions directly to Dwayne. So as I was just mentioning, Anthony Washington will be here in 2 weeks. Here's another example of his work. He's a digital painter. So you guys get double the joy this month, right? We get 2 Photoshop, not just one. We get 2 Photoshop presentations. So everybody's going to enjoy it. So in the meantime, I'm going to share Dwayne's screen, and let me stop sharing the other. Actually, let me go. There we go. So let's remove this, and let's go share Dwayne's screen, and we see the doggy up there with the photography. Is not just better pictures. So today's presentation is something I felt was very, very important. For years, actually for decades, the Photoshop Users Group has been around. We have always been about bringing in those individuals who are the real deal, right, in the industry, that come and do presentations for you guys, to show you their techniques, and to talk about their success in their business, right? So Dwayne is a prominent Professional Photographers of America member. He was recently running the PP of A OC, or PP of A of Orange County, and he's also one of our prominent judges for the International Photography Exhibition here in San Diego at the Del Mar Fairgrounds. He's been in this business a real long time. His studio is based in Santa Ana. His studio is outstanding. I have done workshops from his studio for the PPFA organization. He has a lot to teach you about turning your art business and or photography into a successful venture. Being an artist is only half the battle, right? Being good and having passion for what you do is only half the battle. You need to understand the business of it all. You need to understand how to attract those new customers. We're in a different world now. We're in the virtual world now. In other words, everything we do is utilizing the computer. The advertising, the promotion is now using the computer. Is using social media, all different types of platforms. The old way of doing business, although it still applies, we need to take very seriously these new technologies that we have. So it's something that we haven't presented in the past. I think this was a prime opportunity, especially in these tough economic environments right now. We need to start thinking smarter. We need to start thinking more creative from a promotional point of view. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to introduce Dwayne Murphy.
But Stephen, you're doing so well. Could you carry this on for another 88 minutes, please?
No, I can definitely do that. I mean, I'm sorry. You're one of the very few photographers that I meet who's serious about making sure their business is profitable. And I've been to your home. You have this huge, beautiful home, which shows the success of your, of the fruits of your labor. And this is something I wanted to bring to share with everybody else. So, and if anybody has questions, David Glenn just made a comment. He says he must have dogs. Don't worry. He I don't remember seeing the dog, but he has rabbits, and those rabbits jump in your lap.
I am the proud owner of 2 of the world's most ungrateful rabbits on the planet, but I get to spend most of my week playing with other people's dogs. And I'll talk about why this came about. But since Stephen asked if anybody has questions, I'm going to raise my hand because I have a question. I would love to hear from the audience what you guys would like to know about sales, marketing. I would like to know what your challenges are, because Stephen gave me the impossible task of only talking for 3 hours. I've got my slide deck, which will carry us through, but I will customize it based on the feedback that comes in. So that was question number 1. And because Stephen played this really cool commercial at the beginning of the show, if you can't think of what you would like out of today, the follow-up question is going to be, give me a sentence in the chat. And we're going to make Stephen read these. Give me just one sentence in about what value is to you, what the word value means to you personally. That's going to be a big part of today's theme. So with that, Stephen, can I take over?
Yes, you can.
Not that I haven't already.
You already have. You've got your screen is showing.
Awesome. Let's
So
see.
you are welcome. We're looking at the black and white dog. There it is. It's working. Pet photography is not just for the dog.
I spend my life, my studio focuses on 2 types of photography. And I have to say this really slowly because there is an obvious joke that everybody asks me. So my studio focuses on pet photography and boudoir. And thankfully to this day, most of the dogs come in fully dressed and not wearing lingerie. The reason that I chose these 2 genres is because everybody loves their pets. And I have actually not met very many ladies who don't want to feel prettier, don't want to feel relevant, but also don't have pets of their own. And it makes it an easy transition to not have to find new customers, but to create repeat business. And we'll talk about that as the day goes on. So I need to hire Stephen to talk more about my background. He makes it sound so much prettier. I started off with running an IT company, and in all reality, I needed to get away from that so I could come home and have time with my family. Growing up in high school, I never, ever thought you could make a living in the art world. Taking pictures, my dad would sit there and go, that's just stupid. We had shoe boxes full of photographs. There was one pencil drawing that was up in our house of my mother, and my dad never admitted it, but wherever he went, that photograph, that drawing of her was in his room. And it wasn't until I was into my 40s, and it really dawned on me recently when my mother passed the Rainbow Bridge, that that picture was the most valuable thing in my dad's life. It represented a moment in their time together as a couple, not as a mother or a father. So what brought me here today? Up until 2005, I took pictures, I played with Photoshop, I did all of the stuff people do as a hobbyist and enthusiast. In 2005, I started photographing pets and families on request, but running my own business and seeing how much time that this was taking away from the business, I was charging for that work. I photographed mostly in parks and in my living room at then we were living in an 1,100 square foot condo. So I probably had a 250 square foot space. And I remember the lights were actually bolted on these swing out arms that I would press against the walls when my wife would come home, and we could sit down on the couch and watch TV. And we had the backdrops mounted to the taller portion of our vaulted ceiling. So when clients would come by, I could easily roll down a backdrop, take the photographs, show them on the television screen, and then convert the house back into living stages once we were done with the session. I also worked out of rental studios as this progressed. In 2017, 2018, I started to experiment, as most people do, with boosting posts on Facebook. I started running some Facebook ads, and at the end of that year, I realized that I dropped about $10,000 doing it wrong. I joined several different marketing groups trying to figure this out. And finally, in 2020, I took the plunge, totally removed myself from IT, and leased my first portrait studio. It was my own space. It was no longer shared. I did a basic remodel, put up my backdrops, fresh paint, everything that you would do that costs you money out of pocket when you are getting ready to launch a business. And our grand opening celebration coincided with the great COVID vacation. So for the balance of 2020, I spent the rest of that time learning how to do Facebook marketing properly. I practiced everything that I could think of: lighting, posing, how to talk to people, which was really odd at first, but I knew how to talk to people in terms of IT and needs, but I didn't know how to talk to them in terms of pictures. What I learned through PPA was, and I do love PPA, so I don't mean any disrespect, but I learned to talk to people in terms of awards and photographs and great Photoshop skills and all of those things that I desperately needed personally, that made me feel like I was in the right place and that I could do this as a profession. In 2020, I noticed we were missing something. The malls that year were not able to have the traditional Santa Claus portrait sessions. If there was a mall Santa available, he was behind plexiglass. Or a lot of the upper end malls, including South Coast Plaza, didn't even have Santa that year. You were able to come out and pose with a Christmas tree. So I got the brilliant idea, at least I thought at the time, of running Santa-based Facebook ads. And the short version of the story is we collected 200 people that I had multiple phone calls with. We ended up booking roughly 30 Santa Claus experiences that weekend. We photographed and sold within 1 hour. Literally photographed the families, photographed their children. As soon as they were done photographing, we took them to a card station while a runner brought me the memory card, and I uploaded that memory card into the computer and then showed them their photographs and closed the sales immediately after. No retouching work whatsoever. And that ended up resulting in my first ever $15,000 weekend in photographic sales. At the end of the weekend, I was absolutely floored, especially during this period in everybody's world. In 2021, about 85% of our bookings all came from Facebook ads. And what was frustrating to me was that I was averaging a $2,000 sale at the time. That's great when you're starting out. That seems really good when you're in business. And it's awesome when you don't know any better. But being around PPA, I heard about so many of the established photographers and how in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s that $5,000 and $10,000 sales were a thing that they could actually really happen. So I've been on a mission to try and figure out how to get there. And in 2022, I am talking to a person who has become a mentor, Steve Saporito, and he had mentioned that my work was technically solid, but I really needed to somehow find a way to connect to people on a much deeper connection. And that changed my world. From that time, and we're going to talk about this today, from that time, my average sale has now become $3,500. The people that I choose to work for, that choose to work for me, and it's a two-way street, they're not clients. They become friends. Their worlds are truly changed. And this all came before I ever got my PPA, Craftsman, and Master's photography degrees. As Steve mentioned, I am actually a 5-time past president of Professional Photographers of Orange County. But the real reason that I do what I do, and I love photography. I love to educate and mentor and help people. It's just part of who I am. I don't know how not to do this. Through my photography, I help people see parts of themselves that they have lost. I help them see that they can be somebody, or that they are somebody that for the most part, they didn't even realize they were. I've met so many people, I've gotten to photograph so many pets who are literally people's children, who give them value in waking up every day because they have somebody, something that loves them, that they get up and care for and gives them value. Whether you are looking to improve technically based on camera skills, I don't know how much I could teach anybody in this group about Photoshop. I can probably learn from you, but I will talk a little bit about today about how I use Photoshop and different ways of using it to run a professional business. I love to help enthusiasts become better at the ins and outs of photography. I remember one year standing at the Orange County Fair, the first year that I actually chose to enter because my wife literally got tired of hearing me go, I could do better, I could do better. So she challenged me to. And excuse me, I'm getting over a cold, so I will try and mute my coughs when they come up. I met a gentleman who reviewed a couple of my photographs and invited me to become a member of PPOC. And that day changed my world and put me down this path. And it's people like him and all of the people I've met along the way that have offered me their time, their expertise to make my world better. So I really feel dedicated to trying to help other people pursue their passions, whether it is as a hobby or it is as on a professional level. So I asked earlier, and Steve, I can't see the comments, so I would love to hear what people would like to get out of today. If any of those comments would come in, it'll help me guide our talk.
All right. So once again, the comment is, what does the word value mean to you? So far, I've got one post. So, and I know the people who are here and they are there now. Put it, type in the chat box, what does value mean to you? That would be really helpful. So what I'll do is I'm going to post the one from PISHYD. I'm going to post that up now. Value to me means genuine, honesty, kindness.
That's a great definition. I'm sure we're going to get more takes on that as it comes in. So
anybody else, please post.
And I'll pause again in a couple more slides and we'll ask one more time. So we're going to begin talking about sales and marketing. And then at the end of the day, assuming time allows, I'm also going to go through a live demo of what happens when I'm done photographing somebody, because part of the experiences that my studio offers is the same day photograph and sell. And we'll talk about why I do that later on. So who wants photography? Who actually purchases photography? Is it people who want pretty pictures? Could it be people who value our photographic skills as professionals? Do people who appreciate amazing photographs buy family portraits? Or is there possibly something else? My experience is that all of the above is true, but most importantly, it comes down to what our clients value. And in the PPA world, the PPA world values awards and technical ability, and these are actually parts of what are called the 12 elements. But people don't necessarily buy photographs because it's the most beautiful sunset or it is the most amazing composite picture that's been put together. It's not the most, it may be the most amazing Harry Potter scene of your children. People are going to value these, but the value that they will have for the technical ability is going to be at what I call a dinner level, meaning when you and your partner decide to go out for dinner on Friday night, there is a restaurant that has a price point that you can walk into and it doesn't require any discussion. Then if there is a special event, maybe it's an anniversary or maybe it is a birthday, and so you're going to go to a more expensive restaurant, maybe there's better service, maybe the food is better, and you're going to expect to pay a higher price. And then there is the level of restaurant that requires planning, that requires advanced discussion, deeper discussions with your spouse, because it's going to be a once in a lifetime event. That's kind of how I look at photography. Based on the connection that people have with what you create for them will determine what their value amount is. People have emotional needs that they may not even be aware of. And this is the key to my studio. When we can offer them something that they can connect to, that gives them something they didn't know they have, price no longer becomes an issue. Monetarily, in most cases, this type of connection will increase from an, I am not kidding, a 2 times fold increase in sales to over 15 times. What are these numbers based on? Well, I have worked with probably 30 different beginning photographers who would photograph sessions, upload those to Dropbox, and people would get the entire CD, for lack of a better term, for $250. Once we taught them how to connect with their parents, find out what was important about this situation and their children, those people started buying artwork. And one person in particular went from $200 sessions to $3,500 sessions in less than 1 year. They've had multiple sales of well over $5,000. And the product, their photography didn't change. What changed was how they spoke about it and what they were offering to the parents. Non-emotionally packages. Think of the J.C. Penney style of photography or the Walmart style of photography. Come in for $100 and get your family portraits done. The part of that conversation that I never heard was that once the photographs were done, you would sit down at a desk, be pressured into buying a package, and their goal in most cases was to build the sale up to about $1,500. You got to keep your job as long as your sales averaged over 700. So it was a turn and burn, but they knew that once they photographed somebody, there was a great possibility of upselling. And keeping the dollar amounts to around 1,500 also made it possible for their constant marketing to allow these people to come back every 3, 4, or 5 years. So what is the value of photography? And this is one of our rabbits, Ewok. And a story about us is I met my lovely other half about 20 years ago. And we were in our early 30s when we met. We are really slow at times to do things. So 20 years later, we finally got married, and we decided at that time it would be wonderful to start our family, but human children were out of the possibility. The idea of watching my kids graduate high school when I'm 70 years old is not something I can even fathom. So our rabbits have become our children. And what makes this story important is I am saddened every day that I don't get to see my wife be the mother to a human child, but I get to see her, see how she dotes over, how she cares for our rabbits, and know that she is the most amazing rabbit mom that this planet will ever see. Behind her is a collection that I created, and this is coming out of my own pocket. Yes, I photographed the bunny. That is our rabbit Ewok. My wife also loves BB-8, and she can't wait to come home and be reaffirmed of the fact that even though she's not a human mom, she gets to experience motherhood in her own way by having two amazing rabbits to take care of that she absolutely adores. This is the most expensive collection, 5-fold greater in my own personal cost than anything else in my studio. And at the time that we put this together, there was questions about whether or not we could ever sell a single 5-piece collection to somebody for over $10,000. This went up about 4 years ago, and we've sold 6 different collections to different pet lovers because they want to show off what kind of wonderful human beings they are, and that even though their families have grown and moved out, they still have value and love as parents. That's where the value of photography comes in. Stephen, have we gotten any more comments yet?
Yes, we have. We got a few more. Let's see. Let me go back up to the top. So the question is, what does the word value mean to you? And we've already mentioned one. Let's see. This one here. Genuine, honesty, kindness. We have one from David Good, whimsy. I'm not quite sure what that means. DP Skier mentions value is the importance of something or its importance to the buyer. Diane mentions standard of behavior, authenticity, my idea of what's important to me. And then let's see, what is this one here? That one. Okay. JHDR06 says value in personal life. What's important to you in business? What's important to the client to differentiate themselves from the competition?
Awesome. Stephen, go back and comment from the gentleman whose initial started with D. I think it was 3 comments back. Read that one again, please.
Okay, so Dave Glenn just posted whimsy, giving someone that sees your work and is a little more happier in a challenging world.
That's a good one. Let's go to the next comment, please.
Okay, the next comment back is value in personal life. What's important to you in business? What's important to the client to differentiate themselves from the competition?
That is really close.
All right. Okay.
Value, the way that we define value, the way that a business can define value, that is, I want to be perfectly clear about this. That definition is up to the business owner. They get to define value as anything they want. However, it doesn't mean that what you consider value is going to be valuable to your clients. And this is something that we need to understand as artists. Our client will determine the value of our work. We may want to sell it for $4,000, but the client is the only person who gets to decide whether or not they're willing to spend $4,000. Value is the importance that they attach by whatever means to an item that gives them something in return. Using my wife as an example, and I am 100% guilty of this as well. The value, the love that we have for our rabbits, the love, the idea of being parents in some form is huge to us. And knowing that we have a limited time with our bunnies at every stage of their life. And I don't mean crossing the rainbow bridge, but there's only a time in their life when they are going to sit in our hands and be so ridiculously, amazingly cute. There is a time in their lives when they're going to want their independence and have nothing to do with us. When we return from Japan, we travel, I work there every year, and we're gone for 3 or 4 weeks. And we find it a little bit sad, but also kind of funny that they have such attitudes that it takes them 3 days to get over their anger with us for being gone so long. Then there's going to come the time in their life when they actually want to sleep in the room with us. Our rabbits are free range. And then there's going to come the time when they slow down, they don't really hop around a lot, and they've become senior bunnies. These are all memories. These are all emotional attachments that we don't ever want to let go of. When I've talked to my human clients, they have moments with their children that they don't want to let go of. Dad getting to walk out to the baseball park from his car in the parking lot, holding his son's hand after he's just put in a 60-hour week. Why are these things valuable? Because these memories, these attachments make our lives better. They make it worth us getting out of bed every day and help us feel like we are doing something of importance, something that is meaningful to us. So as a photographer, they're looking for a way to hold on to these memories. My technical skills are simply expected to be there. When we talk to new clients, I have heard this term education, where as the business owner or as the photographer, we are supposed to educate our clients. But nobody ever explained to me what that education is. So my question is this: what is wrong with this slide? Put it in the chat. I'll give it about 10 seconds, and we'll see if anybody can figure out what's wrong with this particular slide. Growing up, I never thought I was going to be a salesperson. I have been called a great salesperson at times. I've been called a shit hot salesperson. I don't say anything when people want to talk about whether or not I'm good at sales. I particularly don't like that term. I don't want to sell anything to anybody, but I do want people to have the things they want. With that said, did we get any comments about it? Any guesses about what's wrong with this slide?
Not yet.
Well, what's wrong with the slide is actually the title, because we've always talked about it in terms of sales and marketing. And it should really be marketing then sales. Otherwise, we're putting the cart in front of the horse. If you think about the sale first, instead of what the next step should be, we're going to lose. We are going to be more worried about bringing somebody into the studio that might not purchase. We are going to be worried about bringing somebody into the studio who only wants to spend $150 instead of several $1,000s. And I've seen this firsthand with many people that I've met through my experiences, whether talking publicly, through the PPA world, just through the course of the day. They want to guarantee that they're going to be paid for their time, but they haven't offered a value statement to their clients about what the client is going to get that's important to them. So they want to tell their client what they do. We want to show the client what we do. And we want the client to commit immediately. And if we don't give people time to digest, think about it this way. Imagine going to the Cheesecake Factory, which their dinners could literally feed me for 4 days. And the waiter, waitress, instead of placing it on the table, grabs my chin, opens my mouth, takes that plate and shoves it down my throat immediately. It's not going to be a good experience, and it's not going to be something I'm willing to pay for. I've got family members that could probably down that entire plate in about 10 seconds, but that's not me. So we want to sit down and we want to enjoy that dinner over the course of the next hour. In terms of photographic marketing, you might meet somebody that says, "Oh my God, I love your work. I am waiting to meet that person after 15 plus years." But most of the time we have to take them through small steps and give them small bits of information and let them determine the value of our photography. We have to have conversations with them. We have to show them pictures now and then, but most of the time the conversation is going to be finding out what is important to them. So how do I go about finding great clients? Well, first of all, I've never found a great client or a true photography lover. I have found people, and we've had many conversations, who have fallen in love with work. And I always work on the attitude that clients are made, not found. We do this by hosting booths at expos. We are, in fact, later tonight, I will be in Santa Ana hosting at my studio at the downtown Santa Ana First Saturday Art Walk. We do social media advertising, and referrals are always nice. So I am always out there looking for ways to talk to people. This is our booth when I'm hosting at an indoor show. I have a few pictures on display. I have signs up that offer a quote unquote show special. And then I have lead forms on the table. But we actually don't talk about the background or the f-stops or what it took to photograph Lexi, the black dog on the black background. We talk about the story behind Lexi and her mom, who is now wheelchair bound, and how Lexi is the unanticipated therapy dog that lets dad know that mom is okay every day. We talk about how Stanley, the pug on the left, was actually the first son to Natalie and Alex, who had been married for about a year, and how their adopting him gave Natalie the confidence to believe that Alex, after she came out of an abusive relationship, was going to accept her for who she was. And if she was to have his child, and if that child wasn't perfect, that he was still going to be there and still be an amazing father. And people then in turn want to share their stories with us. Last weekend, we were hosting outdoors in the rain at the Subaru Walk with the Animals. And this time, the only pictures that we have on display is the display print on the left standing on the easel, and a small, I think it's an 8x10 that comes out of one of our dog houses, a folio box. And everything else in our booth is printed on canvas. And the reason is we're not there to talk about the pictures. We're there to talk about why people chose to get up on Saturday morning and hang out in the park to do a walk with the animals to raise money for the Mary S. Roberts Pet Adoption Agency. We got to hear stories, excuse me. we got to hear stories of how dogs helped their children with ADHD become responsible teenagers. We got to hear stories of how one lady in her 60s didn't know what to do after she retired. She didn't think she was going to find herself in her home with no one to care for and really looking forward to bingo every other Friday night. And she was just bored out of her mind. So having her Dachshund and being able to take this guy for a walk 2 times a day, having somebody to cook for, she started eating better again. And these conversations will allow us to give them something that they desperately need, desperately want, that they want to feel relevant in the world when we slow down and the world leaves us behind. This is my old studio, which was next door to my current studio that Stephen has been in. And during the art walk, people come in and start talking about how they haven't seen printed work and that they
And
can miss.
I have to say, it's a beautiful studio.
There, I believe there's a couple of photographs of it towards the end of this end of the show. I couldn't talk about it and not be able to show at least 1 or 2 pictures. But this gives us an opportunity to listen to what people are talking about. And on the right corner there, you'll see the display of Ewok. We also have Yelena, which is front and center, who is another artist in Long Beach and never thought she felt beautiful. And people look at it and start going, I wish I could do something like that. And we talk about why. And they suddenly begin, not suddenly, they begin to realize that maybe they, as everyday human beings, they, as people who have seen themselves in the mirror for 40, 50, 60, and 70 years, could actually be somebody that they thought, excuse me, they could be somebody that they thought was worthy of being in a magazine or displayed larger than life in their own homes, and seeing that there is a part of them that, in the case of many of our clients, they have literally never seen in their own lives. We do a lot of Facebook marketing. We're going to talk about the right way and the wrong way here in the next minute. We run ads, and in the chat box, this one's going to be easy. Just put yes or no. Any day this week or any day this year, we'll make it easy. Any day in the last year, did you ever get out of bed and say, hey, today I'm going to go out and have my family photographed because that's what we need? Just put yes or no in the chat box.
And Diana just made a comment. By the way, I believe that your wife is definitely a human mom. She may not be a mom to humans. She is a mom to rabbits, and she's clearly human. There you go.
Thank you very much, Diana. She actually loves the official title of Mother of Rabbit.
Well, it could be worse. I don't know. It's kind of like the mother of dragons.
She actually fell in love. My wife is the sweetest, kindest human being on the planet, but I am kind of worried about how much she loves Game of Thrones. It just means I'm going to come to a drastic end one day.
So we've got several yes. We got one yes here, a no with DP Skier. Diane says no. IB Wizard says no. IB Wizard also says family of one.
Awesome. Well, anybody who answered yes, I want their names and telephone numbers, and I will book their portrait sessions this afternoon. Everybody else that said no, welcome to the rest of the world, because the job of marketing is to grow people into becoming our clients, into helping them understand that they want something that they may not have realized they want. The goal of Facebook marketing is to in my opinion, gain the conversation. So how do we do that? We have to stop the scroll, and I'm going to talk about this in detail. Actually, we'll just do it now. We have to do what's called stopping the scroll. We are on our phones, we're on our computers, taking a 3-minute break from work that turns into 20 minutes, and we're just trying to kill time when we are maybe watching a football game that's gotten boring. We are part of a family outing that we just kind of disconnect from for a few minutes. And this ad pops up with a really cute dog that says learn more. It's not intimidating. It's offering something if you want to click. And that will generally take you to a lead page, landing page, where we are collecting some basic information about what we're telling you what the experience is about. We're telling you what some of the money is going to go for. We are telling you clearly what this application is for. Notice I said application, not contest. And we'll talk about that difference in another minute. And then we reiterate what it is you're entering to win. And in that dark box, we are talking about the love of pets. We're talking about the love of family. And we are also creating a scarcity moment because tomorrow may be too late. We don't know what's going to happen. Maybe in our case, our bunnies who used to sit in the palm of our hand become too large to do that. Maybe life has changed and we have to move. So create those memories now while you still can, and don't be sorry about it tomorrow. The saddest conversation that I have 2 or 3 times at any event is when somebody walks up to me and says, "Oh my God, I wished I would have done this before my puppy crossed the rainbow bridge." It's a learning point. So we want to celebrate the happy moments with people. Our landing pages then go on to make an introduction of who I am. But even the introduction talks about why this is so important for me to do. Everything is done in terms of the client. And then we go into a reminder about what it is you're entering for. Why do we offer a prize? Why do we offer this particular application? And that is, if you're going to give me your telephone number and your email, I need to make it worth your time. The other way that we go about meeting people is by offering gift certificates. And our gift certificates are something that people generally remember. I've designed them because I want them to look like a wedding invitation. I want them to have a quick idea of what it is we do. So inside of each package, there's either a pet photograph or a boudoir photograph. And then there is a description of why somebody got this. And this is what our clients will hand to their friends if and only if they trust us and love what we have done for them. So the goal of our first level marketing is to do one thing and one thing only. That is simply to earn a conversation. I want to be able to pick up the phone and talk to you directly. I want to hear what's important in your life. I want to hear why you chose to become, in my wife's case, the mother of rabbit, the father of dog, the proud family of a very carefree and independent cat. These will reveal things that are important to you. Every form of marketing that we do all comes down to collecting somebody's name and somebody's telephone number, because we need to have that conversation. Hey, I duplicated slides. Yay, we get out of here at a little 30 seconds earlier. My applications have changed over time. When I first started doing this, I kind of took what I knew from doing IT consulting, which is very logic oriented, and put the same type of form together in hopes of collecting names and telephone numbers and getting people in front of my camera. And my God, I am a slow learner at times. I'm assuming, and again, yes or no in the comments, if you've ever seen a form like this, maybe they're doing a drawing off to Temecula or to Napa Valley, and you just need to enter your name and email address to win. Well, this allowed me to get contact information. And Steve, can I pick on you? I want to do a little bit of role play for a moment.
All right.
So if I was to get Steven's contact info, this is pretty much the way the phone call goes. And after we're done with this, yes or no in the comments if you've ever received a call like this. Hey, Steven, this is Dwayne calling from Great American Portraits. I am calling today because you stopped by our booth at the Walk with the Animals event over the weekend and wanted to sign up for our $550 portrait session. Tell me, do you have any pets? What are their names?
Well, yes, I've got 2 large ostriches.
Oh, how cool. And why did you adopt ostriches?
Oh, they kind of like, they're kind of interesting, something different. The neighbors don't have, everybody's got cats and dogs and rabbits. So I figured I'll be like, the cool guy on the block and adopt ostriches.
Awesome. Well, let me tell you a little bit about what you've won. You won a $550 gift certificate to come into our studio where we're going to photograph you. Make sure we've got 30 or 40 really awesome photographs, and you're going to get a $250 credit to purchase your own photos. How does that sound?
Oh, that sounds pretty interesting. When can we book?
Stephen is being way too nice. Because, Stephen, what is it you're really thinking? And be honest.
I'm thinking I don't have any ostriches anyway. So I'm not doing anything.
Well, and then once you come into the studio, what's your next question going to be?
I have no idea.
How does this guy give away $550 portrait sessions? What is the catch? This form of marketing allowed me to book sessions, and those sessions generally culminated with people wanting the free photograph. They generally culminated with people wanting digital files. They generally culminated with awesome, amazing sales of $100, $200. Or in my retail life, I learned the best, better economy version of selling, where you always offer the most expensive. Then you go to the fallback of what most people buy. And then you have the entry level. Sounds a bit like a car dealership, or maybe buying an appliance from Best Buy or what used to be Sears and Roebuck. And it was very hard because everything about this just focused on the contest, what's free. And even after most people would ask, can you send me an email? I'd like to see it. We would send them details of the contest and digital files of what the artwork could look like. It was very difficult to actually build a value to it. People would be buying at what I call the Friday night dinner level. It was all about photography. It was all about what I could do for them, not so much about what they could do for us. They generally remembered the contest. They remembered that they were a winner or that there was something that was free. As we would ask questions, it just felt like every other sales call, and people just wanted to know what's in it for them. Moving on, I finally figured out I needed to change my forms. And this is an actual form of a client. And in this case, this client states that her pets are her kids. They mean the world to her and that they put a smile on her face every day and that they warm her heart. So with that, Steve, don't be quite as nice to me this time.
Okay.
So, my God, Steve, I read your entry. I wanted to say thanks for coming by our booth, but really, I want to know more about why you chose to adopt 2 ostriches. I get it. Everybody has cats and dogs and maybe even bunny rabbits, but why ostriches?
Good question. Well, let's see. My wife has horses, and horses for me were too big, but I wanted a big animal I can interact with. So ostriches has this thing where they're like human size. You can touch them, you can hug them, and they're not like small things like chihuahuas. They're just too tiny. They walk around. They have stature. They're interesting. They have character.
That's pretty awesome. I've actually never heard that before. Please help me understand. So pick one of your ostriches. What are their names, please?
Okay, so one ostrich name is Larry.
Okay.
And the other ostrich name is Jason.
Cool. So we have Larry and Jason. So when you are walking out into the backyard, into the ostrich quarters, and Larry walks up to you, give me an idea of how he interacts with you. I'd love to hear that.
They're always happy to see me whenever I come over. They come over. They basically they want to be fed. They think I have food for them, but they like the interaction. They seem to be happy to see me, and I can come out and talk to them and pet them and have a conversation. They're just like family.
So, what is it they do what is it Larry does when he comes up to you and shows that he's happy to see you? That moment when you're walking out towards him and he looks at you and you see the look on his face, that look that only a father would know, that shows he's happy that you're coming out to him. What happens?
No, they come over and they lean their head on you.
Tell me more. How does he lean his head on you?
Oh, it's it's kind of like how a cat rubs against your leg. They kind of take their head and kind of like put it next to your head.
And so when Larry puts his head down next to your head, what does this feel like to you? What does this mean to you, knowing that he misses you, that he wants to see you and be part of your world?
Oh, I'm going to miss them when I decide I'm going to eat them. Ostriches are delicious,
Absolutely.
Have you ever had ostrich burger? It's delicious. Especially ground, and you add a little bit of marinade to it. It gives a nice little flavor.
So you want to celebrate Larry by showing photographs of the ostrich burger in your home.
Well, I want to show photographs of Larry before I make him into an ostrich burger for my home, so I can remember this great pet that I had before we had wonderful dinner with ostrich steaks.
Well, now, where in your home, where is that one place when you get home from work, when you wake up in the morning, where's that one place that you get to have for your Zen space? Where is that one place that you would like to be able to sit down and see all of the amazing interactions, all of the time that you've had with Larry and Jason?
In the kitchen.
Tell me about the kitchen.
Oh, the kitchen has got a nice little spot where I can put photographs, and a spot next to the photographs that has pots and cooking utensils, and I've got like the nice seasonings in the cabinets just to the right of that. So it's kind of like, yes, these birds have contributed to my psychological well-being and my physical well-being.
And is that the only place you would like to see them?
Pretty much.
Well, we took this from one side to the other, Stephen.
You said don't be easy.
That is correct. So how large is your kitchen? Because you've seen our work in the booth. Do you have a large kitchen? Is it like a small San Diego space? What is it like?
Small little San Diego space.
So you're going to remodel your kitchen to make room for Larry and Jason.
I'm not going to remodel. The room is already there. It's all the walls. It's clear. It's just nothing. Right now, I've got a bunch of utensils hanging from the wall. I can move those and put the portraits there.
So I would love to have you, Larry and Jason, come into our studio, and I'd love to create these memories for you.
Oh, wonderful.
What would it mean to you to have these for the rest of your life?
Well, I got to get new ostriches. I ate the last ones. So when I get new ostriches, I'll be happy to come by the studio.
So we're going to stop it here. And we run into clients of all sorts. And even with Stephen trying to take this awry, we actually got a lot of really important information. First of all, Stephen was looking to be a great client until he decided he was going to make his ostriches dinner. And because I want to work with people that have a similar value set as I do, I'm probably not going to offer him one of the grand prizes. However, if the ostriches were not going to be turned into dinner, we got a lot of other information that's actually really useful in developing the value stack. Number one, Stephen wants to be a father. Hopefully he doesn't become cannibal. He misses the interaction with other beings. He wants to feel that he's needed. He mentioned that he understands that the ostriches probably want to be fed, but he also liked the fact that the ostriches came up and trusted him until he called the butcher, and that there was a connection there. In hosting the phone calls in this way, we were bringing up emotions upon playback, even with Stephen's sarcasm. Notice how his voice changed when he was talking about the idea of the ostrich coming up and rubbing on his shoulder and his neck, paying attention to him. The sarcasm went down and the level of intent went up. As the phone call continued, the normal answer that we get is living room or bedroom. And we go into getting a description of the room, as we did here, even with the kitchen. And that is telling me, giving me an idea of what's important to him. What is it he's actually willing to purchase? In the comments, in the chat box, let me know if you think Stephen would be more willing to purchase a physical portrait. I don't know what it looks like yet. Haven't photographed it, no clue. Or if the only thing he's interested in is digital files. Because this makes a huge difference when it comes time to actually moving into the sale. Something else happened.
We have some comments here if you're interested.
Yeah, let's go ahead and go to the comments and
Just a couple. It's Kurt says conversation moves from interest and motivation to action coming to the studio. Then Jason Mandala mentioned that it was a comment to Diana. That second phase, tell me more about question immediately sets off my this is a sales call frame switch. If someone is calling me, if they are personal, if they are personal emotion questions. So usually the questions are to strike emotion. Let's see, and PISHYD mentions digital fields, I guess fields, but Mandala mentions again, feels like it would work on me only if they had strong rapport with me when I first meet them before the call. Yeah, that's important.
So those are great comments. I think it was 2 comments back. The gentleman that pointed out this would signal out a possible sales call without strong rapport.
Right.
I use a set of descriptors. Think of it as personality types. I think there was a Briggs and Myers test a while back that defined everybody in terms of personalities. What is easier for me is to think of bird personalities. My best clients are going to be doves and peacocks. And we're going to talk about the bird personalities in a couple of slides. But doves and peacocks generally want to show things. They want to be seen. Doves particularly want to take care of other things. And we'll come back to this. There's a few other things that came out of the interaction with Stephen that is for both of us. When he walks through his kitchen, he's going to be looking at that space and assuming that he is a good fit for the studio, he's going to begin to envision artwork, photographs, something in that space, preparing him for the fact that he's going to be making a portrait purchase. I would have concluded the phone call with letting him know that we're going to invite him into the studio. We're going to work at Larry and Jason's pace to ensure that we have 30 or so photographs that are going to show the interactions, show whatever emotion it is that they're talking about. Sometimes it's interaction, sometimes it's comfort, sometimes it's protection, sometimes it's just sheer love that they get to see every day. And I am going to end that phone call or bring the phone call to an end with letting them know that in all reality, I think a collection that would look good in that space, a series of photographs that would show the interaction that Larry loves to have with Stephen at maybe $750. Or if it's a living room, that maybe it's going to likely run $2,250, and we're going to pick up the first $550 of that. I'm going to hear one of two things. It's like, oh, that doesn't sound too bad after all. Or I'm going to hear, no, that's way too expensive. He's going to be a hamburger in a week, and they're not going to come in. They're going to disqualify themselves from the application process. They are not going to come into the studio, which means I'm not going to waste my time photographing somebody who doesn't value what we've actually put out. But if it is somebody like my wife, and she is quoted $2,200, when she comes into the studio, she sees what I thought would fit in that space, and she's likely going to see another collection, and now she's going to justify in her own mind how to get the purchase the bigger collection, the bigger series of photographs, and it's a marginal move up that she's already prepared for. Does that make sense, or would you like me to jump in deeper into some of the things that we've brought out in just this one phone call? There was something else that was said during the phone call that is hugely, hugely important, and almost every photographer I have ever met has skipped over this. Stephen said that his wife has her own pets. And as such, I actually will not invite him into the studio until I get an opportunity to talk to her directly as well. And I'm going to do this for two reasons. Reason number one, I want to know about her relationship to her pets. I want to know about her relationship to Stephen. I want to know what her relationship is with the ostriches. Because this is going to be a family decision. There is no way that they will purchase. Is that me or is that you, Stephen?
That's me.
Okay. There's no way that they're going to come in and purchase $10,000 worth of artwork without talking about it first. And I cannot rely on Stephen to go to his wife and tell her about our process, our meaning, and explain it in a way that makes sense to her. So what would end up happening is they're going to talk, and she's going to go, "You're bat blank crazy, and this isn't, we're not going to do this." Or if she sees the value and I'm given the opportunity to talk to her, then they can talk amongst themselves afterwards and decide whether or not this is something that works for them. And this way, everybody comes into the studio on an even level footing. There is nothing that's being hidden. There may be other places in the home where she wants her puppies put on display. And so it gives us a better idea of what it is we're selling for, instead of taking, I've seen photographers run 100, 200 photographs and then try to figure out what they're going to put where instead of photographing for intent. Just covered all that.
So you've got 5 minutes and we're going to do a 15-minute break.
You're going to make me speed up in overdrive.
I told you it was going to go fast.
I told you it's a 3-day session that you want me to do in 3 hours. So we've actually got this. I've heard photographers say, make them cry, then they're going to buy. All of this comes down to trying to find ways of building the emotional attachment. The real meaning of emotional attachment, which comes out of a series of phone calls like this, really comes down to placing the value that the client has in their lap and being able to share it openly with them and them sharing it with you. A client will never, ever, ever give you $1 more for anything you have to offer than the emotional value that they have attached to it. And we're almost there, actually. We've already talked about that. Killers of emotional attachment are numbers. So many photographers want to talk in terms of 8x10s, 16x24s, 30x40s. These are all logical choices, and it brings people out of the their desired state of mind where they want something on the wall, and they're now having to balance consistently something this big or something this big or something that's huge, whatever huge is, versus something that fits for the space that they have, versus something that has an emotional appeal to them versus being a canvas or an acrylic. So We go out of our way to minimize choices. I don't have individual prices for every item on my list. I have about 5 price points, and I don't care what size you buy. It's going to fall into one of those 5. Because numbers take people out of that emotional state. What we really care about isn't a 30 by 40. Does it look good? Does it look balanced over your sofa? Which is more important? So stop it with all of the numbers. Stop it with all of the individual sizes. In my studio, the items I have on display are displayed in ways that you can see that they will nicely fit over a sofa or over a bed. If I have to do some sort of pre-design, then I will actually show it in somebody's room. When numbers do matter is when you are building your business and you're trying to figure out what you need to sell items at. And just because a print costs you $10 or $20 doesn't mean that you can sell it for $40. It really comes down to whether or not you have a studio space, you are using part of your house and paying yourself rent for it, what your cost of operations are, what does it cost to run the cell phone, what does it cost to maintain insurance. My operating expenses every month run about $3,500 just to unlock the door. By knowing what your numbers are will make it easy to know how to price your workout and ensure that you can build a sustainable business, whether you want to do this 2 hours a month or 40 hours a week. I am going to I want to talk. Stephen, let's go ahead and jump into, I'm going to jump to the end and bring up photos of the studio. There we go. This is my shooting space. It is the second most important space in the studio. This is my sales room, my design room. And I project directly onto a wall. I don't use a screen. I have prints that look great over sofas and beds. I know personally that they're 40 inches by 40 inches. The photograph of the puppies over the door is 18 inches tall by 60 inches long, but nobody has ever asked. The collections on the far side of the room are 60 inches wide because they fit great over twin size beds, queen size beds, 2 and 3 seater sofas. And it makes it easy for people to see where they're going to fit in their homes. And we'll begin the next half of the session off talking about photographing with intent. So are we at a good point, Steve?
Yep.
So we will come back in about 15 minutes and pick it up from there.
Yeah, that sounds great. So in the meantime, what I'm going to do is we actually have the Photoshop Users Group has an official sponsor. Let's see. I would like to play their commercial. I'm going to take your screen. I'm going to remove your screen, and I'm going to put up our little commercial, and then we're going to do the 15-minute timer. So this is an excellent product. Springtime is here. So
over 150 years ago, in a plantation kitchen near Jackson, Tennessee, Lucinda Macklin, the head cook, created masterpieces of Southern cooking every day. With her culinary creativity and her knowledge of certain secrets of food preparation, Lucinda made her very own special sauces. She developed a variety of marinades and sauces full of diverse herbs, spices, and a whole lot of love. The thick and tangy barbecue sauce she made was so rich, it was poured into jars rather than bottles. Soon, Lucinda's delicious, authentic sauces became known all across the South. Lucinda Macklin was wise enough to realize that her gift for cooking wasn't truly a gift until it was given. So she passed her many recipes on to her daughter, Osabel, and Osabel imparted her knowledge to her daughter, Thelma. Thelma kept the tradition alive by passing those precious gifts to her son, Lamont Burns. And Lamont is still passing it on and on and on.
I'm Lamont Burns, inviting you to enjoy my great-grandmother Lucinda's recipes in every jar of the Lamont's authentic Southern marinade and barbecue sauce. You spend good money on meats, but you're probably not getting that good down-home flavor. Marinate your meat in Lamont's marinade. It puts the flavor from the skin to the bone, long before you ever cook it. Then add the Lamont's authentic Southern barbecue sauce, and I tell you, you got some good eating.
And a huge thank you to Lamont's Barbecue for supporting our channel. 15 minutes. I'm going to add that to the stage. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and pull this back to 15, and we'll be back. I'll mute my mic and my camera temporarily, and then we'll come back when the timer is up. We are pretty much there
Woohoo!
at this time. Okay, cool. So let's remove this and let's add your screen back to the stage. And we're seeing the beautiful redwood trees in the background with your chat box open on the left-hand side. And that little timer was created by David Glenn. Thank you, David Glenn. As he's one of our 3D experts in the room. So he used Blender 3D to create that 15-minute timer for our client.
Super cool, David. I love that.
Welcome, Carm. Carm 3D just came in. Let me say hello to everybody that is here. I usually like to do that. So let me go back to our Twitch page here. I won't read off. I won't have everybody's names listed here. That's actually all here. These are people who actually responded in the chat box, so the names are showing up. So Ace Hoffman, is great to see you as always. Carm 3D, welcome. It's great to see you, man. Cynthia, Anna, it says here, welcome, Cynthia. David Glenn is here. Diana, welcome. Great to see you as usual. DP Skier, welcome. IB Wizard, welcome. Kurt, JL, welcome. McNonsense, welcome. Great to see you. Mandala, welcome. And PIS Hyde, welcome. And then there's many others that are not showing up in the chat box area, but the numbers are showing them there. It's great to see everybody here. Welcome to this week's Photoshop users broadcast, and which is basically on the business of being an artist and a photographer. How to sell your work with Mr. Murphy here. So,
Hey, Steven, that's why I tell most people just call me Hey You.
Hey, yo. Brain fart here. Oh, my gosh. So we got Dwayne Murphy here from an official 5-time past president, PP of A of Orange County. If you guys are not familiar with PPA, Professional Photographers of America, as very prominent nationwide. Very strong, very, very serious group in terms of the selling of your work as well as the skills of your photography. They're deadly serious about having strong photographic skills to sell yourself as a photographer, in quotes, unquotes. Okay, so Dwayne, take it away.
Awesome. I just realized I totally forgot. Outside of being the 5-time past president, I think more importantly, I'm also the owner of a small studio called Great American Portraits. So before the break, I promised I would talk briefly about bird personalities and what they mean. So let me see if I can bring this up without breaking things, and then we will jump into, I'll make a few comments about shooting for a product, and then we'll jump into how I go about going from the photographic session to the sales session in the same day. So let's go back to presenter view. So bird personalities are a way of identifying personality types. And why is this important? Well, through the daily course of every one of our lives, we have people we love to hang out with. We have people we enjoy seeing from time to time. And then we have people that we may not necessarily want to hang out with. And it's not that they're bad people. It's not that there's anything different. There's just things that make conversations easier or more difficult, more or enjoyable enjoyable. And at least for me, having this idea of bird personalities makes it easier for me to understand who I am talking to, gives me an idea of some of their basic behaviors and allows me to understand why things that I once interpreted as challenges may simply be inquisitive statements because that's how they operate. A few weeks ago, my wife and I watched a movie called The Accountant with Ben Affleck, and last night we actually went and saw The Accountant 2. This movie takes on an entirely different premise when you look at it from the point of view of bird personalities. Great movies, well worth the time. So with that, I'm going to jump into a few examples of bird personalities, what they mean, and how they will affect or how you might handle a conversation with them, whether it's in or outside of sales. So quite often we deal with lawyers and salespeople. These are people that love to win. Lawyers, especially trial lawyers, they're in it for the fight. And their personality types are eagles. They're at the highest level of birds that there are. It doesn't mean that they have to have things their way, but they are going to challenge anything they don't understand or anything that doesn't necessarily make sense to them. And an example of this might come up in terms of pricing. Oh my God, you're charging $5,000 for that collection? Well, the answer from most photographers is like, well, that's the retail price, but for you, we can do it for $4,000. In our studio, the answer is, yes, sir, that is correct. You do want something in your office that's going to show your stature, show your level of success. Do you really want to do that with a discounted item? And that's one way that we might approach that particular comment. Nurses and psychologists tend to fall into dove personalities. I kind of bounce between the three. I have a need to help people. And in a sales situation, a dove will very rarely make a choice for themselves. They're great at making choices for everybody around them. So when it comes time to, for example, in a boudoir session, make the selections for themselves, it's like, I just can't decide. They're all wonderful, but I don't know if I want this one or this one. And if you tell them as a consultant that this one shows out your caring personality, they're going to understand it. They will like it, but it's not enough justification for them to make a decision or a purchase. However, when the statement is changed to show that a particular photograph, especially if their husband is there, is one that their husband loves, that made him smile, they will immediately add it to their collection and it becomes part of the order because they're doing things that other people want. And then there's the peacock. Peacocks are people that have to have things like the latest iPhone. Whatever is new and shiny is what they want at that particular moment, and they generally want everything. So the first inclination would be offer them everything, let them buy what they want, but because they've bought so many new things, they also tend to be some of the hardest to get financed or don't exactly have cash in pocket at the time of purchase. So we need to help them choose the best of what they can afford and help navigate them through that process and explain that these acrylic prints, these acrylic blocks are the latest and greatest and nobody else has them. If you were to make a decision of one item, this is what I would suggest for you. And then there is the people who you could offer a red Ferrari to, and upon handing them the keys, they will look at you and go, but I wanted the black Ferrari. And we refer to these as the vultures because there's nothing you can offer them that they will place any value on. They will generally point out that you should pay them because they came into your studio to allow you to photograph them. Everything circles around them, and they will not part with money. They will not add a dollar value to anything you can offer. So we want to be aware of these personalities, figure out which ones you get along with personally, And then those are the people that more predominantly you invite into your studio. Now, to be clear, because somebody will quote me on this later, every person can be multiple bird personalities depending on the situation and where they're placed. So this is why the pre-session telephone calls become so important. And on average, every client that comes into our studio, I speak with at least 3 times before they come in through our doors. Jump into your favorite ChatGPT, your favorite AI software. Simply do a search for bird personalities and you'll find many articles that explain them very clearly in detail. So with that, the last note I want to bring up is this crazy notion of photographing with intent. What did you just do? When I first started my photography career, I really wasn't sure of what I was selling. I would have a session. I didn't really know how long it should run. I just know it felt right that if I offered people a choice of 30 photographs, that I could probably sell a folio box and a couple pieces of wall art. That changed when I settled on 6 different collections that reside in my studio. And what makes that important is in these 3 collections, if I want to sell one of them, when I'm photographing a client, whether it's a pet or a human, using the Ewok collection as an example, I know I need 5 photographs, one that's going to be a headline photo. I'm going to need 2 photographs that if there is a face view, probably want them looking to the right, 2 photographs looking to the left, or that I need to come up with 2 to 4 photographs that are going to be great details. If I move down to the pug, we call that the Stanley collection. Then again, I know I need 1 hero photograph and I need 2 photographs, again, looking to the right, looking to the left, and probably not necessarily, but either close-ups or detail shots for the additive or the supplemental photographs to go into the collection. And if I am working on a Dana, which is the little girl in the lower right, again, I only need 4 photographs. Again, that's going to be the hero, and then 3 detail shots, preferably looking to the right, but I can also change that collection, rotate it so that I can put the detailed photographs on the top, on the bottom, but I know that I only need 4 photographs. The largest collection, I only need 5 photographs, and 2 of each collection should be looking center along with a couple of details. It has allowed me to cut my sessions down, my shoot volumes down from 200 photographs to between 75 and maybe 100 photos, knowing that out of those, I need 30 photographs that I'm going to put into ProSelect. So that's it for the slides. Are there any questions about photographing for product or about bird personalities? And we can take a couple of minutes to try and answer them if any come in. I am going to bring down my PowerPoint. And Stephen, I may need your help because I'm going to have to change screen so I can bring up Lightroom and ProSelect while I'm sharing my desktop.
Well, all you do is stop sharing that, bring in your other 2 programs and just share them.
I'm going to have to change screens because they're going to come up on a different screen that I can see.
All right, it shouldn't matter.
Okay. You can tell unless I break something.
Yeah, you can tell StreamYard which stream to share on your end.
Okay.
And I'll keep an eye. So we're still seeing the redwood trees.
Dun, dun, dun. So we're going to go there.
And let's see what happens.
I'm going to stop screen.
Oh, good. You went black, so you're getting ready to share another screen.
I'm going to present, share screen. Share screen.
Let me know when you're ready.
Entire
screen. There it is. All right, and I'm going to go share that to stage now. Got it.
Okay, I can pull StreamYard out of the way.
All right, and we can see your Lightroom in the back.
Okay.
So
there's that, and I need to pull up ProSelect. Has anybody out in the audience, actually, just put yes or no, have you ever heard of a program called ProSelect? Being a Photoshop users group, I will assume that most everybody knows what Lightroom is.
Yep.
Are we getting many yeses to the ProSelect, or is it just a couple?
We're getting two no's, no for Carm, no for Diane.
Okay. So the way I describe ProSelect as a photographer, and this tends to shock a lot of people. ProSelect in my entire studio is the most important item that I own. If I had to give up, while running a professional photography studio, my camera or ProSelect, I am going to keep ProSelect. I'm not sure how I can make that statement any greater. And the reason is ProSelect allows me to do so much work with the client without them realizing it and creates an entire back-end workflow. And we're about to go through that. So this is for a client of mine named Audrey and Gemma. We did their session in October, I believe, of last year, November of last year. And in their session, I shot 91 photographs. I sent them out to lunch while I was preparing their premiere, and we call it a premiere, and we actually call it a design and purchasing consultation, not even a premiere. And I am very careful about always trying to refine my terminology, because with a premiere, you go in, you watch a movie, you finish the movie, you go home. A design consultation, you go in, you design something, you may or may not purchase it. We call it a design and purchase consultation. Earlier, it was commented that if I ask a certain question, somebody would take it as being sold. I don't hide it. I'm a business. I want people to know that I have products to sell. I let them know that with their gift certificates, they will get something at no charge if that's all that they truly want. And I'm okay with that, because if we go through the process and then that's all that they want, I haven't done my job correctly. Most clients value the work that we've created and choose to make a purchase, and we're open about it from the get-go. So with that, what I would do is invite the client to take Gemma for a walk, because there's lots of trees in our neighborhood. There's a couple of dog-friendly cafes right outside our studio, and they're welcome to go have lunch, a drink if they want, and we'll see them back in the studio in about 1 hour. And in that process, I am going to then bring up their photographs, and I am doing this in the studio by myself, and these photographs are unedited. And what I am going to show is the photos as they were shot. And I'm simply going to mark them based on what I like. That one's kind of cool. That one is a post edit. This is the NEF. And what I'm looking for, notice these 1, 2, 3 photographs are very similar. I'm only going to show one of those. I don't need to show every motion in the blink. I don't need to show very similar facial expressions, because that just confuses the client. We're going to pick that one. The nose is too close. That one's got a lot of studio available, but you know what? I'm going to put it in. I don't really care. I kind of like that profile. We've got both of the eyebrows visible. We've got one eye visible. And during my talks with Audrey, Gemma turned out to be a dog she adopted from a former client. She's actually a trainer. And the client gave Gemma up the dog because her owners were actually afraid of her. She was too big. The wife saw a lot of her facial expressions as being aggressive and decided when they moved that they were not going to take her. She tells me this story about hiking with her nieces, nephews one day, and suddenly Gemma stopped and went back. And she wasn't sure why. And when she turned around and caught up to Gemma, she had realized, I'm not going to use that one because that's just kind of scary. She had realized that Gemma was waiting on the rest of the family. And that is when Audrey realized that Gemma was no longer a rescue or an adopted dog, but part of the family. And that's when she became her dog. That one's kind of bright. We got the studio in the background. There's all sorts of marks in the backdrop, but I don't really care. So, has anybody out there ever tried or ever done same-day sales? And the reason I do this part of it in Lightroom is once I make my initial pass through, I can review just my 1-star photographs now, and I've selected 24 of 91 photos. 24 photographs makes it impossible for me to sell a 30-image, what we call the doghouse, or a folio box. So I'm going to go back and I'm just going to pick 6 more to show. And what I've looked for, I'll bring up the 1-star photos in a moment. Let's see. We can pick that one. That's kind of cute. The hands are kind of cute. Let's deselect. That's kind of cute. Audrey came in dressed in her t-shirt. I suggested that she come in a little bit dressed up, but this is just her. She doesn't get dressed for many things. She'll tell you, a dog trainer. And that's the way she spends her life. Okay, so I think I've got my 30 or so photographs. Got 29, close enough. I like this one because it puts Gemma in a regal position. She's a very confident dog. She also looks a bit protective, but that's okay. In this case, this is Gemma in a more casual mood, casual expression. And I also like the fact that she's looking clearly to one side. Here, she's starting to look a little playful. She's a little bit on guard, not sure what's going on in the background. Here we have a great, what I call camera pose. She's looking directly into camera. This is a view with, obviously, wide angle lens. It gives a different perspective of her. It's a way that Audrey has probably never seen Gemma. She gets around, she's playing, but she doesn't really get this stopped view very often. I love being able to sell 1 or 2 photographs where the puppies are up close to the lens and distorted. So this is a good shot for that. Here she's a little more relaxed with her paw curled up underneath her chest. We also can see a little bit of the white spot on her chest. Sad puppy dog look. Who doesn't love this? And here's a couple of photographs where she's now looking in the other direction. So as I am thinking about my collections, I already know that I can fill one of those collections.
Could be worse.
The hands. I'm
Could
sorry,
be-
Stephen?
Could be worse. It could be sad ostrich look.
Absolutely. On two buns. In this case, it's a close-up of Audrey's hands. When I'm working in Japan, it's amazing because most women want to look larger than life. And here in the States, we're generally trying to minimize people. So I'm not sure how she's going to take to this. With the wide angle lens, her hands are actually made to look even bigger than they are, but it's a cute photograph and we'll throw it in. Here we have mom and puppy pose. If I was doing something for PPA, this photograph would get me killed, annihilated in 30 different ways. The lighting on the top of her arm is heavy. She's blocking Gemma. But from an owner perspective, I see about 5 different photographs in here that I think I can sell really easily based on different croppings, but we'll see where it goes. I love the story because Audrey has become Gemma's mom. Gemma is her daughter. And so this is showing their connection in different ways. So I'm okay with these. So far, none of the photographs have been close until now. So I've got these two that are kind of similar. The exposures are off on these. Obviously, my lights probably didn't recycle. I prefer to underexpose when I'm in studio because I know I have a better opportunity of recovering the shadows and details than I do if I overexpose something. So what do we do next? I simply do Command A to select all. Let's see, I've got ProSelect running in the background. I am going to go to export. Not export with previous, but export because I need to change my settings. And in this case, we are going to export to ProSelect. We're going to put it into the open album. In Lightroom library mode, I want to select anything that's selected that I've actually marked selected. So all of the 1-star highlighted photographs. And these are all pretty much default settings. I don't really care where it's going to save the file. I normally put my files in with the client photographs. I turn this off. I don't ever want to copy my 1-star ratings into ProSelect. That's what I was looking for. I'm even downsizing the JPEGs to 80%. We're showing on a projection screen. The wall in my studio is a textured wall. I've taught this probably 100 times now. And the reality is, when I first heard it, I argued against it. I had a 10-foot projection screen, and there's no way a client's going to buy a photograph where that's all wrinkly and messed up. And the person who taught me this looked at me and said, "You are the one who said to me you would give up your camera and use ProSelect in your studio as being your most important tool." Well, whatever you photograph out of camera should generally be better before it's edited upon initial review. And I thought about it for a moment and said, okay, we'll try it. And to this day, I have never had a client complain. It's larger than life. It's got music in the background. And because of the samples in my studio, because of the landing pages I use, because of even the little bit of social media, people know they're going to get rockstar photographs in the end. So I'm simply going to tell it to export, and you're going to see that it's taken the 29 photographs and moving them into ProSelect. In ProSelect, we have these 3 happy faces. These are the photographs I love. These are so-so. And we have the sad face. I spent 5 years of using ProSelect, putting everything in the so-so category and making my clients pick the ones they loved or the ones they hate. I want to talk about this for a moment. When you have an experience and that experience at the end is done, we tend to remember 2 things. We remember what was best about the experience, and then we remember anything that wasn't quite perfect. And if the experience is important to us, which of those 2 things do we hold on to more tightly? In my world, it tends to be the imperfections. I'm willing to bet Stephen and I will probably talk about this talk later on, and I will be focused on the things that didn't work perfectly. And Stephen will likely be talking about serving ostrich burgers. And that's what we're going to remember instead of hopefully delivering a great message to people. So it took me a while to figure out I should actually put all of the photographs in the I don't like them category. Because when I am talking to you as a client, now my questions change. It isn't what do you love, what do you hate about yourself or about the photograph? Because in reality, if I was to ask that question of my client Audrey, she might go, oh God, no, there's a scar on my hands and my hands are chubby and I need to lose 10 pounds. And what we're actually doing is taking away from the things that she loves in the sale. Instead of going, what do you love about Gemma here? I personally love the connection the 2 of you have. And keeping the focus on everything that's positive. So once we have the photographs in ProSelect, I'm going to go to the album. And people have a memory. And because of that, I'm not hiding anything, but I want to keep the expectation as high as possible. So, change names. Where did you go? Sort images. And I'm going to change them to sort them randomly. But that's not good enough. So I'm actually going to sort them again and change it to randomly. The reason for this is when you see a movie and maybe a month later or a year later, you watch that same movie again, you know what's going to come up and kind of know when it's going to come up. So does it have the same amazing impact as the first time you saw it? People being in the session themselves kind of know the order of the session. They know when you walked up to them and showed them the back of the camera. So I want to keep people on guard, on the edge of their seats, if you will, through the entire session. And then I'm going to go in, and after I've randomized the photos, I may change 1 or 2 around because I want to start with a strong photograph and I want to end with something amazing. That something amazing doesn't exist in here yet. The photos are here, but it hasn't been created. So we were talking about creating a collection of photographs for Audrey and Gemma that would actually go into her office at the pet park that she owns. So I'm going to go into layouts and I'm going to look for something that I had in mind from our conversations that I quoted her $1,500 on. And I think it's going to be this composite here. And because I know what's edited, I'm going to go ahead and pick the photographs that I know we used originally, which I should have done first, 754. Actually, you know what? I'll change albums later. I think this one would be a good hero shot. We've got puppy looking to the right. We have sad puppy. We've got prominent puppy. And then we have Gemma and puppy, but I don't really like that order. I love this photograph of Gemma and Audrey, so let's change them. And this white looks a little bit bright. So I'm going to come down and change. Let's see, am I using the right one? There we go. I'm going to change the background and the key lines. I kind of like that a little bit better. Now we've got studio background here. We've got some odd croppings. So the first thing I want to do is focus on my hero shot. Let's go back to layouts. We're going to select this and use the crop option within Pro Select. And this is kind of static to me. Her arm is coming up and it looks a bit odd, so I think we can make that better. So I am going to rotate this, pull down, and we're going to zoom in. What I'm looking for, because I am that lazy in post-production, I know I can extend the background here, but I want to make sure I don't have to rebuild any part of her body. So we've minimized her arms. We've focused on the connection between Audrey and Gemma. And we're going to move on to the next photograph of Gemma. And I think this one we can zoom in a bit more. And we can adjust this so we're not cutting off her paws right there. Kind of like that. And here on the far left, she looks really tiny. So we're going to zoom in. And why am I doing this? I am working on the premise that my clients want professional artwork and they want my opinion as a professional. So I am designing something that I think will look great in their office and more importantly, tells the story of Audrey and Gemma's connection and all of the different moods that she has expressed she loves seeing in Gemma, especially from the day that she realized Gemma was part of the family and wanted to protect everybody in her family. And we're just going to move this over here. So I think that is good. I'm happy with that for now. And at some point, she's going to get to choose this and decide whether she likes it, doesn't like it, or change it. So I go back to layouts. There we go. I now have an additional tab. We're going to flip back to slideshows. I'm going to take these out and delete. We're going to take all of the photographs from our session, pull them into the slideshow. We're going to flip onto our composites. Going to drop that at the end of the slideshow. I would normally turn on music for the slideshow. I don't want to deal with the compression issues and trying to figure out more tech items, so we're going to run the slideshow without music, if you don't mind. And let's see, one last item. We need the countdown. I am a professional studio. I do not want people focused on their cell phones. So I'm going to put in the fact that everything is copyrighted. And this is how long it takes me to prepare for a sales session. So we are going to stay in slideshows. Yep, I'm good with that. I'm going to tell Pro Select that I'm going to play looped. I would normally tell it that I'm playing on a second monitor. Hey, I want to start paused. There we go. And apparently we are going to get the music. So right now everybody can see a black screen. Stephen?
Yep.
Okay. So we're going to fast forward. Lunch is over. Audrey and Gemma come back in. And I'm going to invite them to sit down on the couch in the gallery room that I showed earlier. And I am still standing. I immediately offer her a glass of water, but I don't ask. I tell her I'm going to have a drink, a bottle of water. What can I get you? I am going to explain the process. Gemma, Audrey, I hope you two had a great time during your session. Are you guys excited to see what's coming up? Chatting with them. Awesome. Well, let me explain to you what's going to happen. I'm going to play a short slideshow. Try not to cough while I'm talking to them. We're going to play a short slideshow. Just sit back, relax. Don't worry about making any decisions. After we're done with the slideshow, we're then going to go through the photographs one by one, and together, you and I are going to design a piece of art that's going to look wonderful in your office. How does that sound to you? The answer is always, yeah, let's do it. So we've expressed what we're going to do. She doesn't have to worry while she's watching the slideshow of, oh my God, how do I make selections? She knows that we're going to go through one by one and make those selections. She knows that we're going to design the piece that we've now spoken about on 4 different occasions to go into the room that she told me she wants it in. She's already heard the pricing at least 3 to 4 times. And if there was something in the studio larger than what I had in mind, I would have quoted her at the time her and Gemma walked in. So she's had time to absorb the new pricing and what she might spend, how she might go about paying for it. So we're going to sit down, relax, and simply enjoy the show. Look at that puppy's face. How adorable is Gemma? Just waiting for you to come home, Audrey. Love watching the two of you play. How adorable is that? How much you guys love each other. And generally the comments that I'm hearing are, wow. Oh, that's adorable. She looks so cute. Oh my God, I've never seen the white spot on her chest before. Look at that face. She is not a scary puppy at all, Audrey. Like, I know this is what I get to see when I'm at home, not when she's in public. And I just sit. And she gets to see a collection of artwork for the first time that she had no idea was coming. During none of the phone calls do I ever talk about sizes. During any of the phone calls do I ever talk about how big or how small. I talk about what's going to look good on the wall that is across from her office desk. I wonder if anybody, without pulling out a ruler, can estimate how large a 60-inch print is. But in my studio, you can see that this easily fits over a 2-seater sofa or a medium-sized coffee table.
And I'm assuming you're going to talk about the composition of these particular pieces.
We will get to that in just a moment.
Okay.
So at this point, I ask Audrey a really, really important question. Audrey, I can hear that you were excited. I can hear that you liked at least a couple of the photographs. Would you like to see this again? And don't worry about saying yes, because so far the record in my video is 9 times in a row. And the excitement, the surprise that comes out when people say yes. And the average time that we play this is generally 3 times before we move on to selection. It's worth our time to let the client see the slideshow 2, 3, 5, 9 times, because they are falling in love with their pet. They're falling in love with themselves, many times for the first time ever, because they are seeing themselves in a way that they've never seen themselves before. When you approach Gemma at any of their outside events, when you approach her at the puppy parks that she owns, and Gemma's with her, she'll tell you that Gemma's friendly, but please approach slowly, because she can be a little bit aggressive at times when she gets to know people. And this was the first time that she had actually gotten to see Gemma's expressions and her calmness without having to worry about other people, and not actually being part of, excuse me, not actually being part of the interactions she has with Gemma every day when the two of them are hanging out at home and just being mother and puppy. Does that make sense? Do we have questions, comments coming in, or shall I continue on?
Continue on.
So the next step of the process becomes, would you like to go through the photographs one by one? And generally the answer is, I would like to see the collection you built, or I'd like to see that final one again. And I am absolutely going to go here. And if not, I'm going to suggest we do anyways. Because Audrey, do you love the photographs that I've put in? I mean, don't trust me. You get to live with Gemma every day. We can easily change any of these out if there's something you think would fit better. And in this particular case, let's bring that up. I wonder if I put it in. I had a photograph of just Gemma's paw. And I didn't put it in this collection, so I'm going to pull this over. And we're going to adjust this one around because she really wants to see Gemma's paws. So, oops, I grabbed the wrong one. There we go. So I'm going to zoom in. And she gets to see firsthand what it's going to look like. And visually, it's not as compelling as the original photograph. But she gets to make that decision. It's not me pushing something onto her. In the end, we decided that the paw photo in itself wasn't right. But what it did is allowed me to sell an additional desk size portrait with just the paw as a standalone, which she had no expectation of buying. It was totally a total surprise to me as well. And I'm okay with that. So let's go ahead, and I think we had a different lazy puppy looking up photograph that we'll drop in. Kind of like, that one's looking the wrong way. That one. So another comment that we get is, oh my God, you can't crop body parts out. I don't understand why, but I think this photograph is not looking good now because, because of the way she's posed. So what happens if we go into crop? We will increase its size, and I'm going to rotate it. I actually like that much better, and I'm okay if we crop out her paw. Let's come in even closer. What I'm looking at is her head size in all of the photographs. I want to keep them roughly the same. Let's center there. Here, I think we can come in a little bit closer and increase her body size a bit more. I'm okay if we crop out part of her paw. And here we're pretty well balanced. We may actually be a little close here now. Her head in this one is larger than anywhere else, so let's zoom out. Not going to let me. So I may need to look at the possibility of another photograph, which we don't have her sitting anywhere, so we can drop this in. And I am letting my client, Audrey, choose the pictures that she wants to see. Let's bring that up. Let's rotate that around. She's looking in. I'm good with that. And I just want to test to see what happens if we lean her off a bit more. Notice how I keep rotating her clockwise. Even though the photograph itself is not changing, she's looking more and more back into the center of the photo. Right now it's a little uncomfortable. It looks like she's leaning over way too far, so we're going to pull back on this a bit. And we get to the point of, Audrey, do you love this? Is this perfect for you? And she's either going to tell me yes or no. When she says yes, then I'm going to ask, is there anything in any one of these photographs you would like changed? And the general answer is no, or there is a mole that I don't like. There's some acne I don't like. In this case, I noticed there's a hair coming across her head. So I'm going to open up my notes and place my edit notes here. So as the artist, I am going to automatically tell my editors that I need to balance all exposures. I need to remove the hair. Yep. I can't speak, type, and show software at the same time. I apologize. I'm going to get good at this one day. Move hair across client's face. Yes, I actually have to point out that my client is the human. Going to apply changes, close the notes. And I thought I saw some gunk in the eyes of the puppy, so I'm going to bring the notes back. Remove eye goo from dog. Make sure you put the word goo in. Do not remove the eye from the dog. And let's see, these would be for the center photograph. I could put notes out for each individual photo. Actually, I don't need to because the latest update was awesome. So we're going to save the changes. Those notes have been applied to this center photograph. In this case, we need to extend the backgrounds. Apply changes. Go back to our layout. I will have them extend the backgrounds here just to be safe. And at the top of all of my editing orders, I put a note to specifically don't ever crop my photographs. We will then go back and look at the, we then click on the shopping cart icon, my favorite icon in the software. In my software, it shows that we've got the composite, that it's a black key line. I'm going to say that it's a custom product. This is one of our Stanleys. And that the client's price is $1,500. We've just added it to the order. And yes, I say this out loud to my client so they can hear the pricing yet again. We close this, and we're going to go through the individual photographs. And I'm going to likely hear Gemma say she absolutely loves this. So I'm going to press 1 to put it into the love stack. And she loves this one. This one is cute, but it's kind of hesitation, so I put it in the middle. This one she doesn't like. It seems to be a bit dark, or at least the way it's presented, so we put it in the middle. She loves this one, but she's not sure about her hands, and she's a little bit concerned about the floor at the bottom. And again, I simply remind her that she's looking at everything that's unedited. And I may have an idea for cropping this later or now, so we'll come in, select the scissors. And this is really about their hands and Gemma's face. I love this. This will be the final cropping, and for some reason I think StreamYard is messing with my keys and it's not allowing me to save the crop. What if I do that? Are you going to save it? There we go. So assuming she loves this, we put it into the number 1 stack. And I'm going to put a note because I think the eyes could be made a little bit sharper. Please sharpen puppy's eyes. And close it. And just for grins, we're going to put this in as a desktop. So there's my gift portrait. And we are using old pricing. Those are now $250. I'll leave it at $160. No reason to change it at the moment. And close it. We're done. We go through and make the rest of our selections. This is one that I know we already have in the collection, and she may say that she loves this. I will point out to her that it's actually in the collection and that if she wants it as a standalone, I'm happy to do that, but we will then change the collection because I would like her to have the greatest variety possible. And at that point, she's either going to say, let's do that, or she's going to say, nope, I love the collection. I'm not replacing it, and I don't know where else I would put it. And so we're going to move on to the next. And what I'm actually looking for as we go through the photographs is I would like to see in the finals close to 20 photos. This is one that when this came up, Let's go back. I pressed the key too soon. There we go. She had never realized how prominent the spot was on Gemma's chest. So we ended up taking this and also zooming in. And I probably rotated it a bit like this. So what I'm looking for is trying to emphasize the spot on Gemma's chest as close to the rule of thirds as I can. We may have to come out just a tad. And this tells me that this rotation is going to create a lot of work for me if I do it like that. So let's come in even closer. And this is something that I can easily rebuild. So we're going to add this. Actually, I cut out too much of her chest, so let's change that. Come down, that makes our work easier. Yeah, I'm actually good with that. There we go. One of the hardest things to do when going through a consultation is taking everything that we've been taught and breaking them down into individual thoughts. Because I was just competing with the fact that the client loves the spot on her dog's chest and then trying to not crop off the puppy's nose. And as I keep looking at this, I keep realizing this spot is the key point. So I actually want to rotate or change this cropping a bit more. There we go. So yes, I've cut off most of Gemma's head. I have removed most of Audrey, but we know these are Audrey's hands. She knows what Gemma looks like. She just doesn't get to see this very often, and this is now highlighted. And in my notes, I'm going to place things like tone down human, brighten chest, add detail to fur. We go ahead and close that, and we continue on with our selection process. We come to the end of the selection process, and I'm going to ask Audrey, what other room would you like us to design something for? And I'm going to get living room, bedroom. If I'm working with Stephen, the kitchen. Or I'm going to get, nope, I only want this in the office because that's where I spend most of my time and that's where I want to see her. That's fantastic. So we've got your 5 photographs that are going to go into your collection. Shall we just put the rest of them into the doghouse? What's the doghouse? It's one of our folio boxes. This way you can have everything sitting on your desk that you've fallen in love with today. 90% of the time, the answer is yes. The doghouse for 20 photographs is only $2,500. I get asked, ooh, they'll think about it for a moment. And the answer is,
for me, the doghouse means I'm in trouble.
I will point out that the doghouse is actually too small for Stephen to fit in, and that this is a doghouse for Stephen and his wife, since she has a pet dog, get to celebrate every day. That comment comes up quite often. And to make things better, we can either use your Visa or MasterCard so you can take it home. And then people are going to hesitate. And I either get yes when they are great at financial management and their Visa cards are empty, or I'm going to get, I wasn't planning on spending that much today. Oh, let me go ahead and build out our collection first before I get ahead of myself. So we agree on a folio box. I think it's here. Wrong one. There we go. Oops. Smart filters on. Let's see if I can do this without breaking it for once. Drag this here and drop it. And it just created the folio box with all of these selected images. And I don't think I selected everything there. So I would normally go to one of these photographs now. Oh, come back. Show all. You and here. And tell it that we're going to do a custom doghouse. We'll set that at 2,500. If people question the price, I justify it real simply by being truthful. Our 8x10s are $250 a piece. So 10 8x10s would be 2,500. Our folio boxes contain 20 8x10s, and they include the doghouse, the folio box itself, which is another $600 for the cost of 10. It ends any negotiation at that point. They can see that they're about to spend $4,300. I will then apply their gift certificate by going into add order adjustment. I should have my gift certificate. This is an older version. Okay, we'll do it at $850. Add the adjustment. They get to see their adjusted price of $35.20 with sales tax already calculated. And they're going to tell me yes or no. If it doesn't fit on their credit card, if they tell me that it was more than they expected today, which is very common, not a problem. What were you expecting to spend today? And the answer normally comes out to $1,500, maybe $2,000. Great. I will be happy to put that on your credit card, and we can offer 0% financing on the remaining balance for 2 years. I send the application to their telephone, and in about 90 seconds, they've been approved by my finance company, which can finance up to, I think we've done charges. My largest one was $26,000. It literally takes seconds. People are happy with it. They are saying thank you. Most of the time, the financing works out to about between $2,000 and $5,000. I tell it that we are good here. I will ask my client, that's what I did wrong. I will ask my client, if you look here, I don't have the 18 photographs. I selected the photographs out of the non-selected instead of the selected, so that's why there's a difference. I would ask my client if there's anything else that they would like to see. Once again, they will likely say no. So I go into my orders. Where did I just go? Client setup. There it is. Review orders. Tell it that I'm going to print the order. It generates my Great American Portraits agreement. I would normally key in or already have imported the client's direct information. Tell it that I want to print my report. I'm going to send this to preview. Mentally, process-wise, I am going to print this physically, and I am going to end the conversation. I am going to end the order process. I do not want the clients thinking anymore about what they're spending. I do not want them. We're going to confirm that they're okay with the amounts here. We are going to confirm, and they would have thumbnails of every item in their box, that everything is correct. And let's see. Notice on the order, the notes that I put in earlier are showing up right here with every individual photograph. So when I complete the order piece by piece, every individual photo will have all of its separate edit notes, which will come in handy in just a couple of minutes. I will then process their credit card, mark the order as complete. To me, what is most important is that section that said gap details before I printed the order, because the client now gets the opportunity to check the order carefully, that all of their poses and numbers are the correct ones. I did not make any mistakes by picking photos out of the wrong group as I did here. So they would say, no, those are the wrong photos. Let's go back and correct it. Or they're going to initial that they have checked it. They're going to check that any special services and retouching that they want have been included and that the notes are correct. By default, I explain to the clients, I will make sure that all photographs are properly balanced, meaning the exposures are even, that we will remove stray dog hair from the backgrounds. We will fix any blemishes that appear on the puppies. So every now and then puppies come through that may have been in a fight years earlier, and the scars on the puppy's legs, in some cases, bother the owners. If there's any special human retouching, we will do automatic skin softening for the ladies, but I will never admit to it publicly. Gentlemen get made, we'll add a little more hair. We will enhance them slightly unless they request something specific. They agree with the balance due and understand that everything must be paid in full before we deliver the photographs. 100%, 100% not negotiable. We are creating a custom product that I cannot put on the shelf and resell later. People understand this. This has happened to me twice in the entire time I've been in business. So I decided contracts are now needed, and that's why this is here. The reality is people pay in full by way of credit card, cash, or financing. And in the last 3 years, I have not even ran a single layaway, which is why I put the financing in. And I'll talk about that in a moment. They agree to pick up their finished orders within 30 days of completion. The reality is, when I tell a client it'll take us about 6 weeks to create their artwork, and that artwork shows up in 3 weeks, 5 weeks, or at the 6-week mark, by the time I hang up my telephone, the client is running down our front door wanting to collect it. This is Christmas in the middle of the year. The reason that this is in the order is every now and then life happens. And I do not want to be holding on to a client's product for 90 days, a year. I've heard photographers having to hold on to stuff for as much as 5 years. We had one client that a year and a half later asked if they could collect their photographs. And we told them yes, with a reprinting charge. Because after 30 days, we don't know if they disappeared from the planet, if there was some sort of breakup, if their puppy is no longer on this side of the Rainbow Bridge. So I'm not going to be held responsible for not delivering if they choose to not pick up.
Now you got 2 comments here, 2 questions.
Sure.
All right, we'll start with David Glenn. It says, do you save a client's photos so what they can't afford today, you can sell them later when they have more disposable income? That way you can sell a collection today and maybe have some repeat business down the road?
Let's hold on to that question, and we're going to hold on. We're going to hold on to it with the minor edit of there is no maybe. What's the other comment?
The other comment is, it was basically just get them shipped to them. It was
Absolutely not.
Okay, that you can talk about that.
And that actually ties into David's comment, believe it or not. I want the client to realize that if they do not pick up their order in 30 days, they understand that the order will be considered fulfilled and complete. They agree to pay any and or all collections and attorney fees if the order is not picked up and paid within 30 days. They understand that I may use any photograph for Great American Portraits advertising and promotion or marketing purposes at any time. And most importantly, note the capital letters, that upon signing this order, they may not change, edit, or alter the order in any way, shape, or form. We also include a expected delivery date, which is handwritten and labeled as expected, because as we found many years back, things like COVID are a thing.
Right.
So even with COVID, with deaths in my personal family, with me falling down 2 flights of stairs and requiring emergency surgery since 2005, I've delivered one order 3 days late. And that is because I make my clients aware that we have a 6-week delivery window. And really it's because life happens and I want to come home and have dinner with my family every night.
Right. So Mandala made a comment here, which I think you pretty much addressed. Related question is, in the contract, who owns the rights to the photographs?
I own the rights to every photograph I take, not negotiable unless it is a commercial shoot. Now, to address that particular comment, the clients get full usage rights. They can use them any way they want. They can post them anywhere they want. The other question that's probably being typed in right now is, do clients get digital files? Yes. My studio, the way I choose to do business, is that when a client purchases an order and they hit the expected amount of, in my studio, I want sales to be over $2,000. I include the digital files. I don't care. I really don't. Now, if the order is under $2,000 and they want the digital files, they're welcome to them at $50 a piece. They want an 8x10 for their desktop and they want to share it on social media? Awesome. The 8x10 is $300 and you can have the digital file. You can print it for all I care. It's going to cost $50. All of our digital files are done for social media sharing. They can be printed roughly 4x6, 8x10. And with the delivery of that social media file, there is a disclaimer in there that states that if they choose to print over an 8x10, there is no guarantee of quality. And regardless of where they choose to print, that there is no guarantee that color balance, colors will even be printed correctly, because it is only our studio that has from beginning to end color management. And then we explain the camera color process, the way cameras see things, the way printers see things, the way monitors see things. And I keep it really simple. Have you ever walked into a Best Buy and looked at the Great Wall of Television and they're all showing the Sunday morning football game, and that game looks different on every screen? Well, that's the way photo printing works.
So a question from PISHD, HYD, 8x10s, you sell 300?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So the question is, or 50, sorry, got distracted, but no, he said 300 is yes.
Yep. So single 8x10s, 300 in quantities. I might be nice and drop them to 250. Here's why. Because right now I'm guessing that his head is exploding, going, huh? $300 for an 8x10? The amount of work it took for me to set up my studio to have the client come in, the amount of work that my retouchers will put into play for that 8x10, the amount of work that goes into loading that 8x10 and paying the licensing for Adobe Photoshop for Photographers package at $10 a month, and I believe it's going to $15. The amount of work that it takes for me to pay the annual licensing fee for ProSelect, for, let's see, what else do we use? Topaz, DxO, On1, my Facebook marketing, my studio rent. I have to sell so many photographs every month. So I have, through my business plan, figured out what my cost of doing business is. And that's what I can reasonably sell a $300 or an 8x10 for at $300.
So
The fact that the cost of paper between an 8x10 and a 30x40 is a $75 difference is irrelevant.
excellent. So Kurt made a comment here. His comment is very, very professional, well thought out, respects the sales, marketing, relationship process, incredible studio and gallery space, but most newbie photographers can't start at this level. Comments on what level can one start from and build from?
Let's hold that to the end here. There's a couple other things I really need to touch on, and I think we've already gone over, which I apologize.
We gone over the end. We definitely. So how about if we go to about 1:15? We'll
Okay.
1:15. We'll do the giveaway. We're going to do a giveaway. We got some workshops I'm going to give away to some lucky winner. They're great workshops. One will be a 5-week workshop, and one will be a gift certificate for 30% off on the photography workshop coming up. And there are 2 of them. We'll talk about those in a little bit, but go ahead.
Okay, so the earlier questions was, do I save files in case a client wants to buy later? I don't rely on the client to decide they want to buy later. The reason for another reason for having the 6-week delay in picking up their orders is it gives them time to pay down their credit cards. It gives them time to get excited about their photographs. And when they choose to come back and pick up their photographs, I have the slideshow set up, ready to go, and simply ask them, would you like to see it again? And about 70% of the time, they say yes, because they know there was a photograph they can no longer remember that they wanted. But I've already marked it, and at the end of the slideshow, we'll go, last time you were saying this one might look wonderful in your bedroom. Would you like to add it today? And in about half of the cases, we end up adding with a new order. So yes, we do hold on to clients' photographs. The reality is, since 2002, I've been contacted by 6 different clients when either family members or pets have passed on. And in that first 48 hours of loss, they've wanted to come back and purchase something else. I don't let them do that. We will pick a favored photograph and I will have it printed and send it to them, because generally they don't come back with the grief and all that goes on with a funeral, whether it's human or pet. So
Let's see. IB Wizard, David Glenn says, good point. IB Wizard says, so how do you keep sales coming in when the economy takes a downturn like during COVID?
This is a conversation that can go for several hours, but I'm going to bring it down to a couple of sheer facts. One of the most common excuses that you will hear when people don't fully understand the value that you're trying to offer is it's too expensive. I think that applies to IB Wizard's question. So that really translates to, if things are too expensive, why do people live in, for example, San Diego, the most expensive county in the country? Why do people drive Mercedes and BMWs and Audis at $60,000, $70,000 a piece? Why do we live in an area where we pay $500 a month for electricity? So people can afford it if they value it, even during COVID, which became one of the most busiest travel periods for local travel.
So basically, you don't want to hear it.
Basically, I want to hear every last detail. I want to continue talking to as many people as possible. My job as a photographer, 50% of that time is spent marketing and putting myself in front of other people, trying to get their ear to find out what's of value to them. Because for every person that's broke, there is, I'll dive on the border of political, the 1% that has more money than they know what to do with. And it's a matter of finding them constantly. That's the job.
And even though you're selling photography, everything that you've talked about directly relates to all forms of art. Whether you have a digital artist, a 3D artist, it doesn't matter. What you're talking about can be applied to every aspect of visual artists' careers that we can think of.
This is a 2-day workshop that I present that Stephen forced me to put into 3 hours. It applies to sales as a whole with some minor tweaks, whether it's commercial photography or it's tangible products.
Ace Hoffman says that this was a lot of psychology in today's session. Very interesting. IB Wizard says would make a great future session, Stephen. Yes, I'll be happy to have him back again. In fact, I will be doing a full day workshop in Dwayne's studio coming up pretty soon. So keep your eyes on your emails for the Photoshop Users Group. I have been sending out notices about that. It's a 1-day workshop, so guys, get involved with that.
We would love to see you in person because there's something about in-person learning that's just amazing, and the brainstorming that takes place.
Yes, absolutely. So I guess we're done, right?
We're going to call it good. Otherwise, I will be here for the next 3 days taking questions.
Oh, this is great. All right, so let's do the giveaways. So as I promised, we've got giveaways, 2 giveaways, unless Dwayne wants to give something away too. It could be more. It's up to him. And at the end of the meetings, I usually do like a couple of giveaways. So one of the giveaways, as you all know very well, for decades I've been teaching a 5-week workshop in Photoshop. Now I break them up into a beginning workshop, an intermediate workshop, and an advanced workshop. And all 3 are 5 weeks long. Each one's recorded. We meet in the evening time, 7 p.m. in the evening till 9 in the evening. So thank you, David Glenn. Have a thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time. And thank you for your help for creating the 15-minute timer for our client, Lamont's Barbecue. Okay, so yes, so that's one of them. The other one is the photography workshop. We have 2 of them coming up. One is the Eastern Sierra workshop, where we have on the agenda Bodie Ghost Town, Mono Lake Tufas. We've got the beautiful, incredible fall colors in the surrounding areas we'll be hitting. We'll be based in Mammoth Lakes. We will rent an Airbnb, which is what we normally do, and I think works out to like $40 to, well, actually like anywhere from $50 to $60 a day per head for all the artists to share the Airbnb. I think it's $40 to $50, $50 to $60 if it's only 2 people. but as we split it up, it goes down. So the
Oh God, that's not even the cost of dinner.
yeah, well, it's amazing because what's happening is we're going in the off seasons because prime season for Mammoth is ski season. So we're in this heart of summer. So it's going to be, well, yeah, it'll be right after summer. It'll be in October is when the Eastern Sierra Workshop. So it's off season. So no one's renting up there. So the prices come down to like $150 a day for a 3 to 4 bedroom condo. And so we all just share the condo, and from the condo, because it includes a Photoshop workshop, and we also do critiques each day where we look at each other's work from the shoot the day before, and we offer critique and suggestions. In the next shoot we go on the next day, everybody's work improves because based on the advice they got from the day before. So it's a class. It's not I don't do photo excursions. It's an actual class. You're there to improve your skills, to improve your composition, to improve your eye and your skills as a photographer. There's no hiking. Everything we go to is pretty much right off the road where we're shooting. The colors are magnificent. It really, it's one of my newest workshops. I normally do Death Valley every year and other locations like the Central Coast Workshop. And one of my students kept just bugging the hell out of me. Do Eastern Sierra. You got to do Eastern Sierra. The colors are crazy. So I did it. So that's one of the workshops I'll be giving away, along with a 30% off, along with the Death Valley class. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to pick a number. Let me bring up my little notepad, and I'm going to bring up my little word pad. And in this word pad, actually, let me share my screen because everybody needs to see this. So my screen is Stephen Burns. I think that's my screen right there. That's it. Okay. So that's my screen. So if I bring up, hold on, I'll show you guys in just one moment. All right, I'm going to put a number in here. And I'm going to pick from 1 to 50, a number. I'm going to put it on the other monitor here so you guys can't see it. And I'm going to pick a number from 1 to 50, and then the person who gets closest to my number we'll do one at a time. We'll do one giveaway, do the first giveaway, and then we'll do the second giveaway. So I've got a number in the word pad now. So everybody put a number inside the chat box right now. And everybody put your number inside the chat box now. There we go. Numbers are coming in. Keep them coming in. Cool. Cool. Keep them coming in. So I picked a number from 1 to 50, and whoever gets the closest to my number.
There's 47 more numbers available. Keep entering those numbers.
Yeah. Keep entering them in. Okay, IB Wizard put one in. And we've lost a few people dropped out, but those people who dropped out are people who already won in the past, so they don't get to do it again. Okay, so the numbers, we'll give everybody another minute. All right, so let's see who's closest to my number. So my number now, I'm going to go put this in here, is 10. So the closest to my number would be, I guess it's a tie, right?
Closest to your number is tied between 7 and 13, unless there's a rule that wasn't produced that says without going over or without going under.
No, there was no rules. So basically, between PIS HD is 7. This one is 13. So Mac Nonsense and PIS HD, pick another number. I'm going to pick another number from 1 to 50 right now. And you guys put your number in, and between the two of you, let's see who wins. So I've got my number typed in already. So go on and type in your number now. We'll see who wins. Okay. All right. So we got, all right, go. All right. Ooh, 27 and 27. You got to do it again. You got to be two separate numbers.
If it's a tie again, whoever enters their number first gets it.
You got to do it again. Give me another number besides 27. So 27 is now eliminated. You can't use 27. All right, so 39 and 15. I don't know. My number is 30.
Goes to Mac Nonsense.
It goes to Mac Nonsense. Okay, cool. So Mac Nonsense, I'm going to type in my, I think you know I know who this is. You know my address already. So I'm going to give you my email address. And the first thing that we were giving away was the 5-week workshop. So photography Photoshop workshop. So I'm going to put in my email address and go on and email me, remind me that you are the winner of the 5-week workshop. Now we're going to do the giveaway for the 30% off of the 3-day workshop. So I'm putting my number in now. Everybody drop in your number right now. So
Steven,
everybody,
while those numbers are coming in, could you put my email onto your notepad so people can get in touch with me afterwards?
yeah, actually you can drop it into the chat box.
I don't seem to have access to it.
Oh, yes, you do. Look, the one that says private chat, I think.
Okay.
And give that to me and I'll copy and paste it. Okay, so everybody put your numbers in now. So I see PISHIYD is just put their number in. And we're waiting for others. Ivy Wizard just put his in. And we're still waiting for others. Is
So
everybody's still there? We had a whole bunch before, and now no one's. I got 2 people so far. Well, I guess Mac Nonsense can't do it because he already won something. So basically, it looks like. Let's see who's the closest. All right, is anybody else going to be submitting? That's it. All right, there it is, 28. That's my number. So
he's the winner.
PISHD is Piz. I don't know how to pronounce that. You're the winner. Congratulations. That was not the prize. So
Wizard, that is not only the prize, but what he didn't tell you is that you're buying.
That's right, exactly. All right, I'm putting in my email address once again for your convenience. Email me right now. Congratulations. And I guess that's it. So thank you all for being here. We're going to be back in 2 weeks with Anthony, with Anthony, who's going to be doing concept art, digital painting with Photoshop. You're most welcome. You're most welcome. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share our sponsors commercial.
Stephen, before you do that, copy my email address in. Any questions I did not answer today, email me and I'll be happy to talk to you directly.
Great. I'm copying the email. There's some numbers right afterwards, so I guess you meant those, right? I'm going to go over here to the comments box, place his email here, and I'm going to put that up like so. That's Dwayne's email. Grab that.
It's my email and personal cell number.
Exactly.
Over 150 years ago, in a plantation kitchen near Jackson, Tennessee, Lucinda Macklin, the head cook, created masterpieces of Southern cooking every day. With her culinary creativity and her knowledge of certain secrets of food preparation, Lucinda made her very own special sauces. She developed a variety of marinades and sauces full of diverse herbs, spices, and a whole lot of love. The thick and tangy barbecue sauce she made was so rich, it was poured into jars rather than bottles. Soon, Lucinda's delicious, authentic sauces became known all across the South. Lucinda Macklin was wise enough to realize that her gift for cooking wasn't truly a gift until it was given. So she passed her many recipes on to her daughter, Osabel, and Osabel imparted her knowledge to her daughter, Thelma. Thelma kept the tradition alive by passing those precious gifts to her son, Lamont Burns, and Lamont is still passing it on and on and on.
I'm Lamont Burns, inviting you to enjoy my great-grandmother Lucinda's recipes in every jar of the Lamont's authentic Southern marinade and barbecue sauce. You spend good money on meats, but you're probably not getting that good down-home flavor. Marinate your meat in Lamont's marinade. It puts the flavor from the skin to the bone, long before you ever cook it. Then add the Lamont's authentic Southern barbecue sauce, and I tell you, you got some good eating.
And a huge thank you to our sponsor, Lamont's Barbecue. We greatly appreciate it. Hope everybody enjoyed the broadcast. We'll be back next week. Now, I do these every week. Next week will be a different topic, but Anthony Washington, the digital painting and Photoshop, will be back in 2 weeks. Okay, that's it. Thank you, Dwayne. You were fabulous, as I expected. And we'll see everybody soon.